the last time that we were here, that was yesterday, we were able to, dive into what it means to analyze data, where to start from, and what is expected from you as a data analyst. And quickly, we said there are 4 things that we do generally as an analyst. The first thing is you describe the situation, which means what exactly has happened, and not just what has happened, maybe, because that is not enough. If you're telling me what has happened, then what do you want me to do with that information? So having, deduced what exactly has happened, that is description. So that's the first thing, descriptive analysis. So the first thing you do is to describe the situation, what exactly has happened. Now that we know what exactly has happened, the next thing that you do is we want to diagnose why what happened. So why was it that this particular thing happened? So if we're able to, find out why it happened, then we can actually make recommendations as to what exactly should be done to, if it's a desirable outcome, then we can say, okay, to keep up with these things that has happened, what can be done? And if it's a negative, effect, we can also find out what we can do to mitigate such effects in the nearest future. So after you must have described, then we prescribe. Prescribe. 1 minute. Excuse me. So all right. Then after you must have diagnose what exactly has happened, then we can now predict. Prediction entails based on what has happened in time past. Now we know what exactly has happened. We've been able to find out why it has happened. And finding out why may not necessarily start and end with you. You might have to roll out some questionnaire, get feedback from customers, get feedback from people that are actually using the service that you are providing. So with all of those things, but now we put them together and we analyze, then we can say that this is why this has happened. Given that this situation has happened, then this can actually come up. But once we know that, the next thing we want to do is we want to use that information to predict the future. And prediction entails modeling, it entails trying to forecast. And at some point, we'll be talking about forecasting, maybe using a tool like regression analysis and a kind of tool as such to forecast what exactly can happen in the nearest future. So as an analyst, you are expected to be able to forecast. So you are expected to be able to forecast. So once you get to that stage of predicting what could happen, that is what gives you an edge over others. We mentioned the last class. We mentioned the benefit of analyzing data, which one of the benefits is having an edge over others. It gives individual competitive advantage over the other people because now you have informed decision. You have data that you can actually leverage on to make decision. Then the final thing you do as a data analyst, apart from trying to query a data, is then you want to, after predicting, then you want to prescribe. Prescribing means recommendation. What are the action plans that should be done? Yesterday we were talking about a data that we got from Amazon, where they were considering why sales has gone up on certain gadgets over a period of 1 year. Then they observed that it was because of the COVID. So a lot of people, they had cause to now start working remotely from home, and because of that, they were able to prescribe that. Okay, since most people or a lot of people are diving into remote work and they have to work from home now, that means that a large number of them will like to set up their respective homes so that it will be much more comfortable for them to work from home. So by so doing, they will need to get some ergonomic furniture so that it becomes a very comfortable workplace for them. That is actually recommendation. That's prescribing, more or less like a medical person prescribing drug to a patient. So that's just an overview of what it entails based on what we discussed the last class. Then from there we dive swiftly into handling
data in Excel. I'm using Google Sheet now, so with that link, you can actually access this data. We talked about how you can filter, how you can, some basic functions like sum, count A, average. Those are the things that we talked about. So we continue from there this moment, and today we are going to dive a little bit deeper because now we are digging deeper and deeper by the day. Let me just do a quick recap. We said if you want to filter a data and we want to filter from a particular cell, let's say for example this sales amount, the first thing I need to do is bring my mouse to the topmost part of that column where I have the column label. So I'll just left click, then click on data. This same thing is applicable in your Excel. The only thing is just that Google Sheet is a live platform where you can collaborate with others. And before I proceed, let me also cite this, that when you are working online, just like we are using Google Sheet and you have access to that sheet, it is necessary that you take precaution so that you don't make a mess of that sheet. So what we advise is that when you have a live sheet, before you start, if you're not sure of what exactly you want to do, because anything you do will affect every other person, it is advisable that you make a copy. So how do you make a copy? Just come to File, then click on Make a Copy. So once you click on Make a Copy, you can name it whatever you want to name it. Then you click on Make a Copy. As soon as you make a copy, whatever you do on that new copy is strictly your business because it will not affect any other person. But if you are editing anything on this main sheet, definitely it will also affect the rest of us. That's on one side. On the other hand, it is possible that I share a Google Sheet with you and you will not be able to edit it. I only grant permission for you to view. But yet you want to make use of that data for maybe practice, or you want to get specific insight from that data. The best thing to do is to make a copy. So back to where we stopped. I want to filter this cell. So I'll just select, then go to data, create a filter. Let's say I want to see sales amount that is 400 and above. So once I click create filter, of course you see this drop down icon, which is the same as the one you see on your on Excel. It's the same, it's pretty much the same. It's just the positioning might be different, but it's still the same. So you just click this drop down, then you can now select filter by condition. That was what we did last time. So in this case, we want values that are greater than 400. You can say greater than 400. So as soon as I'm done with that, just scroll down, then click OK. Automatically, I will get figures that are greater than 400. Now, the data that we worked on the last time was just 10 rows. This data that we're working on is about 50,000 rows. So you agree with me that if you want to get some of sales, that is above 400, it will be, straight enough for me to now start maybe highlighting after filtering all of those things to get the sum. It's going to be a long wait for me to get the result I want. And that's why we need to know how to work smartly and not the hard way. How to get things done within the shortest possible time is the main goal in this case. But before we dive into the concept of querying, with sum and all of those things, if statement, sum if, and all of those things, let me navigate through this concept of handling dates in Excel. It is very important that we understand this concept because everywhere you see this kind of problem, and there are ways we can handle this problem. There are a lot of things you can do with dates, a lot of manipulations, but quickly let's dive into it. So let me remove this filter again. Data, remove filter. All right. So from here, the next thing what we want to do now is, this is a sales data. It has product name, it has sales amount, it has sales date. Then we have expiration date, customer name, then shelf life in month. Now, before you start querying or start analyzing any data, whether you are actually the one that collected that data or not, In fact, if you collected data, you understand data pretty much. But the ones that data that you seem not to be part of the process while they were collecting, the first you need to do is you need to understand the process, understand what actually works for that particular organization. How is their system run? How is the nature of things that they do there? That's the first that you need to understand. Now, that being said, once you understand what they do there and the basic concepts on how some things relate with one another, then it can be very easy for you to begin to think of insights that you can bring out from their data. Now, this is a sales company, and we have products that they sell. We have the expiration dates, and we have the shelf life. Now, shelf life is talking about from the production dates, how long will it take for this particular product to become as expired from the production dates. Now, what that means is that, hold on, let me be sure that's okay. All right. Now, what that means is that if you know the expiration dates and you know the shelf life in months, we need to get the production date. Now, production date is earlier than expiration date. If expiration date is in 2025, like you can see this first cell, and we know that the shelf life is 29 months, all we need to do is we need to subtract 29 months from the expiration date. Generally, the two we are going to use, the Excel inbuilt function that we're going to use, it recognizes months when it comes to lifespan. So even if it's year that you have, all you need to do is convert the year to months. That's the way it is. So if it's 3 years, then we know that 3 years also signifies 36 months. So we can convert that to months. Then we can now apply that inbuilt function that we are going to be using. So that inbuilt function is called Excel EDATE. We want to get production date from expiration date. So what I will do first is let me insert a column to the left of expiration date. So by doing that, all I need to do is I will select the column I want to insert another column beside. So once I select it, then I'll right click, insert one column to the left. So let me name that column as production date. Production date. Production date. All right. So now the next thing I want to do is I need to subtract the number of months from the expiration date to get production date. And the function we are going to be using is EDATE. EDATE. So once you type EDATE, if it's an inbuilt function and it exists, it will automatically pop up. So I'll select this. Then the start date is expiration date. Then we need the number of months, which is in the first row, it's 29 months. Then I'll close. Enter. Now, Google Sheet has capacity to autofill. It has capacity to autofill. Now, autofill means instead of I can try to drag down, but once I just do for one cell, automatically it will just autofill the other one if I want it to to behave that way. Now the next thing I want to observe now is normally production date is earlier than expiration date, but the function that we just used is this Excel EDATE. It only has capacity to add. The natural way it is actually designed is to add number of months to a particular date. So it does not really have capacity to subtract. However, there's a way we can manipulate our way around so that we get the kind of results that we want in Excel or in Google Sheet, as the case may be. The way you manipulate and what you want to get will determine how you navigate your way around. How you get it done is nobody's business. The major thing is get the results. Now, let me show you something quickly. In mathematics, I can decide to say 15 minus 6
You know, in this case now, I want to subtract 29 months from that expiration date. So if I say 15 minus 6, I'll get 9. I don't want auto fill in this case. And I can also see 15 plus minus 6. I'll also get 9. What's the difference? In this case, it's as though I subtracted 6 directly. Whereas in this case, it's as though I added -6, which will still give me the same results. So since I know that this is what I want to achieve, I want to subtract, and EDATE does not have that capacity to subtract. It is actually built on addition. All I need to do is, instead of just having the month, I will include negative minus. So then I'll get the result I need. You can see that now it's looking like what we want actually. Now the next thing is, we know that in sales data or in a sales company, expiration date is always 1 day earlier than the production date. Meaning that if an item was produced on the 6th, the expiration would be on the 5th of the corresponding month. It can't be on the same 6th. It has to be a day earlier. But looking at the formula we just imputed, it's showing 22nd and 22nd, whereas production is meant to be on the 23rd. So now we've been able to explain the concept of EDATE, which means that if you look at the way we got the production date, all we did was we used EDATE, then selected the expiration date, then the shelf life in months. Now, why did we apply this negative? We applied this negative because EDATE generally, add months to a particular date. But since our aim is to subtract, that was why we had to, improvise by including negative. And that's a concept that is explainable using this mathematical concept. 15 minus 6 will give us 9. The same way we can say 15 plus minus 6 will also give us 9. You say they are doing the same thing. They will achieve the same result. But because we only have ability to add in EDATE, that is the reason why we need this manipulation. And so, instead of just selecting a month, we include negative. Then why did they add +1? We know that production date is always a day ahead of the expiration date, meaning that if the expiration date is on the 3rd, it must have been produced on the 4th. That's the meaning. So the same thing goes to expiration date. Expiration date is always a day earlier. And so instead of addition for production date, we will be doing subtraction for expiration date. So let me just show you how we did the expiration date from production date. I will insert a cell here, insert a column rather. I'll insert the column there. So we have equals EDATE, select the production date, select the production date. In this case, we don't need to add negative, so we just include this. Close the parentheses. Then from there, we add for production date. We are getting from production date to expiration date, so it will be -1. So automatically we get the result that we desire. So that's the way you navigate your way around Excel EDATE. So that's just it. So let me I don't need this. I mentioned something the other day. Be mindful of deleting when you're working with sheets, whether Google Sheets, Excel Sheets. When you're working with sheets, be mindful of deleting. So instead of deleting, if you feel you don't need it anymore, it's better you hide it. Reason being that if you reference a particular column and somehow you feel you are done with that column and you deleted it, whereas it has been referenced somewhere, you will start getting ref error. And once you start getting ref error, it means that something is missing somewhere. So instead of deleting, the best thing is just to hide. So how do we hide? Select this column, right click, then we can hide column. So you won't see it anymore. Even though it's still there, you won't see it anymore. So that's just that. Now, another thing we can do with dates in Excel is that if I have a sales data
For example, it can be applicable anywhere. That's why in data analytics or data analysis, we might say that there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on what exactly you want to bring out from the data. Somebody else can look at this data and begin to see a different insight. As long as it is the right way to think, as long as it follows conventional, process. You are not jumping any kind of process. You might see a different insight that I will not see, and we both will be correct in different perspectives. So that's why it is a very broad and vast field of study where anybody can actually, take ownership of their data sets. So now I might want to see the month of expiration. I don't want to just see date alone. At one glance, I want to know which product get expired in May, which product will expire in April. I want to see all of those things. So what I want to do is I want to extract month of expiration and the year from expiration date. So then this function comes to mind. Test. We have test. Format a number in test. So test. Then we select expiration date. Number. Double quotes. Now there are different formats for dates. If you see somebody write MM, it means that you only need 2-digit month. M stands for month. So if it is July, you will see 07. Of course, you know that in months, if you want it in numeric value, month, when you see 07, means July. If it is November, MM means you will see 11. But if I want to see the month itself, let's say JUL as the month, I will have to make it 3M. MMM. If I make it 4, it will also bring 4 characters for the month. So in this case, I want just month and year. So MMM and not the conventional MMM that not that MMM, but M for months now. Y for the year. Y, or let me make it for Y. Y for the year. It will just return the old character for that year. If it is 2025, you see 2025. But if I make it just 2, it will just return just 25 again. So let me say 2025. That's what I want. Y. So then I'll pick enter. So you can see it. So July 2025. So I can label this expiration month. Expiration month. Then this should be done for the other cells as such. So that is it. Now, if I want a space between July and 25, all I need is just to format this. And mind you, each time you put anything in quotation, you're telling Excel that, okay, return a string in between here. So if that quotation is not there, Excel might be seeing, or the sheet might be seeing it as another formula. And if that formula does not exist, you get error message. So you can see that July 25, but this is not what I want. You see where the dash is. That's why anything you do, you get the result immediately. So I want the dash between month and year, so I'll put it here. So we are good to go. So we are good to go. So now, the next thing I want to do is, I have the expiration dates, and I also have the production date already. I want to find out how many days does this product have to get expired. We call it the remaining shelf life. Remaining shelf life is all about the number of days remaining for that particular product to be tagged as expired. Now, how do we go about that? All I need to do is, I know today's date. If I subtract the date of expiration, today's date from the date of expiration, that should actually give me the number of days remaining to expiration. And I don't want to start doing it one after the other or use absolute reference. Input today's date somewhere, then now reference it so that it will subtract from it will be subtracted from expiration date. That will actually give me the result. But some of them I want to see the result tomorrow. We still want the sheet to respond accordingly and still give the accurate, result as for tomorrow. So if I put that date, I mean that today function, tomorrow that date would have changed to tomorrow's date. Next tomorrow, that date would have changed to next tomorrow's date, and that's the way it is. So what is that function? That function is the function we'll call today. Today. So let me insert the column here. Insert column left. Then let me name that column to today. Today. So in order for me to get today's date, I'll just press equals today. Equals today. Then close the parentheses. Then we'll close it. Autofill. So now this is today's date. So now what we want to do now is we want to get the shelf life remaining for each of those products. So let me insert another column somewhere around there. Then I can now say equals expiration date minus today's date. By tomorrow, this 29 would have changed to 30th because today function we reference tomorrow's date. By then it should have become today. So now this is the shelf life. But I want to show you something. Let me insert a column left here. And same thing I did there. I want to try something. Equals expiration date minus today. You can see this. I actually wanted number, but I'm getting date. Reason being that I inserted a column to the left of production date. And this column is actually seen as a column that accepts just date alone. So automatically, the sheet, we assume that the next column I was creating will also be a column that accepts date functions alone. Many times you get this kind of issue. There was one thing that we did some time ago, and you start feeling like perhaps your formula was incorrect, or there's a problem with the settings of the software. But that's not true. Very simple. All you need to do is to reformat that column. If a column is formatted as a column that supports date alone, and you need number, format it as number. If a column is formatted as a column that needs number and is showing date, format it as number. That's the way it is. So how do we format? Just select the cell, then click format. So in this case, we want number, so just click on number. So automatically it will become number. So that's just it. That's by the way. So now we have our shelf life. So you can see it. It means that this cheese has about 463 days to expiration. So with this, we can track number of days remaining for a particular item to get expired. Those are the kind of analysis that one can do anytime, any day. The major thing that we need is you think of what exactly can be seen from that data. If you cannot see behind the data, it's difficult for you to convince anybody the insight that is behind that data. So you need to be able to see beyond just the data even. So that's just it. And the next thing we want to look at now is we've been able to use this test function to get our dates. Another way we can go about this is it is also possible that I want a kind of format that will not have this slash. I want the date to be like 29/9/24. I'm sure you understand that. Or I want this date to be like 22nd, which is the day 07/25. How do we go about that? We also use the test function. So let me insert a column here. Insert a column test. So I'm using test for this. So let me say expiration date, comma. So then I can now put my double quotation, DD, MM, YYYY. Then close. So we have this. So you can see now we have 22/07/2025. So it could be that a kind of analysis I'm doing, I want to see it in this form. So anybody that sees this will know that. So it's not a format that you can see under date function. But with this test function, we can actually rewrite that in a different format that we want. So then we can now reference it to the other cells to the same way we've been doing. So from there, off we go. Now, aside using this test function, there is another way, because when you begin to work with a large data set, it can become cumbersome. It can become cumbersome, really cumbersome, I can tell you. So that's why you need to have a wealth of resources that you can manipulate around to get the kind of result that you want. There's another way we can, get the same results by using this function that we call left, right, mid, and concatenate. So in a moment, we look at those four: left, right, mid, and concatenate. So I'm going to create three cells. I mean, three columns rather, not cells now. 1, 2, 3. So let me call this left. Let me call this one left. Left. Let me call this one right. Then let me call this one mid. Then let me call this one concatenate. Now, all of this function that we're talking about is also applicable when you dive into a more advanced languages like database administration, SQL, and all of those things. All of these things I'm talking about, they work pretty much the same way. They work, on those platforms. Left means that I want to query a particular column such that I can tell the software that from the left, give me 2 characters from the left. So once I just call up this left function, okay, starting from the left, pick just 2 characters, and you will only see those 2 characters. It will also be from the right. From the right, pick 4 characters, and you only see the 4 characters. Mid means, okay, in between, starting from the second character, I need 3 characters from there. And from that point, you see those 3 characters as as it should be in that particular set. Concatenate is talking about bringing into different. It could be string, it could be number, it could be text, it could be anything. You are bringing them together. Let's say you have first name in one column, you have last name in another column. You can concatenate the 2 into one column so that you have the first name and the last name together in one column, depending on what you are interested in achieving. So now let's start with the left function. So we have equals, then I will say left. So let me use the date function that we did that time. From here, left. So it should return the first 3 characters from the left. Can you see it? We have 202. If I edit that and say return the first 4, it will give me 2025.
You can see it left. So which means that what we did is that we used test. We've already used left to generate 2025. You can also use the other functions. We bring them together, combine them to generate 2207. Step by step, we get there. So there's a progression. But let's just take it one bit at a time. The same thing applies to right. You can say right. If I want just two characters from the right, 22. Can you see that? And mind you, left or right, all these, the dash that you have there will also be counted. So if, for example, I decide to have 5 characters, the sheet will return 2025 dash as the return. You can see it. So that the dash that you have there is also part of the characters that you need to be counting. So that's for right. And for left too. For mid means from the middle, starting from maybe second character or the third character, then return maybe 3 more characters. So let's do it. Equals mid. So for this, I want 07. 07. So mid, starting from the 4th character. Or okay, we're starting from now. The way mid operates is you are counting from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to start from this 0, so it's a 6. So starting from the 6th character, give me 2 characters. Can you see 07? So somehow, I don't need this dash. So let me say 4. So somehow, we've been able to, get the 3 constituents of the text string that we got just now. 07, 22. 22, 07, then 2025. Now, what does concatenate do? Concatenate brings terms together. It brings different terms together. You want to join them. It's like in SQL, we have left join, we have right join, and all of those things. You want to join them. That's concatenate. So now, how do we go about that? Concatenate. So you just say equals. Each time you start formula in Excel, you start with equal sign. So we have concatenate. So let me say concatenate this with this. Can you see it's 2207? So if I want to concatenate with this one too, I can also say concatenate that, then add this one too, which is the same thing that we arrived at here. So I think that's quite easy. Now let me do something here. I want to use the customer name for this same thing that we just did. For left, equals left, left. So I need 4 characters from the left. And that is it. Now from the right, I need 5 characters from the right. That's the equals right. Right. This particular one, 5 characters from the right. Now, I'm not going to do this mid. Let me concatenate these 2. So equals concatenate. Ensure your concatenation should be the one written in full. Concatenate this with this. You can see it. It has actually joined the 2. Now, take for example,
if this is somebody's first name and this is the last name, and I want to concatenate the two, but then I need space in between the first name and the last name so that it will not appear as just one name. What do I do? The same function concatenate. So before the second thing, I will just include double quotes. So now, that being said, the next thing we've been able to put all of these things together. So the next thing, you can see that pretty much the same results that we achieved with test function, we're able to achieve with these other functions, left, right, mid, and concatenate. And I have to tell you that there are a lot of ways you can achieve several things. But depending on what you want to achieve and what you want to do, that will determine what you need to do and how you do it. So that's that for that. Now, I want us to quickly look at the conditional statement. Sum, if error, um, 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 if not available, and all of those things. Now, if, for example, my aim is to sum all the sales that are, above 400. One of the ways I can do this is I can decide to filter this page. This column, data, then create filter. Then I'll filter numbers that are above 400. Filter by condition, above 400. Greater than 400. Then I'll scroll down and select OK. Then I can decide to sum this. Now, if you look at the bottom, the bottom right of this page, we have more than 30,000 entries. That is above 400. And I want to sum all of these things. The last time we were working with just 10 row data sets. And somebody was asking, if the data set is a very large one, how do you go about summing? The last thing I want to do is to start dragging this up to 30,000 so that I'll get this sum. It's a waste of time. So how do we do this? Let me remove the filter. Remove filter. So let me create a column here. I'll use the function sum if, then open a bracket, select the entire column. Then the sum I want to get is the one that is greater than 400. Greater than 400. Then I'll close. Then click enter. There's an error. Why? Okay, we don't need this. Sorry. So in this double quotation, then we'll put in between greater than 400. Then we can delete this. And I'll give you the sum. Now, like we said the other time, there's no cause for alarm. When you see something like this, you begin to feel like, what's wrong with my formula? Have I made any mistake? But the next that should come to your mind is, this is showing like a date, but the date is one funny date like that we don't even understand. That means that this column is actually formatted as a date column. And that is because when you started the column, just write beside a column that only accepts dates. So naturally, Google Sheet just sees as though, okay, this is also a date formatted column. So how do we do it? We need to reformat this to number. So just select, then format number. So select number. So automatically you get the sum. So it implies that for sales amounts above 400, you have about 21 million or thereabouts as a sum. Let me do another one. Equals sum if all of this, comma, less than 400. Less than 400.
Then we close it. We'll get our result. Almost immediately. Imagine, how fast it is to get this. Even filtering will even take more time. Before you know it, you've inputted the formula and have gotten the kind of result that you want. That is sum if. Now, this is a very simple way of handling sum if. But then there are also, compound sum if that we can still use. Sum if, for example, we want to sum the sales amount over a period of time. Let's say from February to September. So we can say sum if date is between February and September. Sum the sales amount. All of those things just by query. Now, what's the difference between sum if error and the if statement? Sum if, the if error statement, and the if statement. Let me show you how to undo if error. The other day we were talking about data cleaning and all of those things. So how do you undo if error? Look at it. For instance, my aim is to multiply sales amount by let me just look for any of the cells that we've calculated before. Okay, let's use this shelf life cell by this. Then let me format this cell as number. Format as number. Okay. Now, if for example, because it's not out of place, you might have in the data where there's a missing value or there's an error somewhere. Somebody collected the data and you might not, because it's a large volume of data, you might not spot out all of those errors in the middle, but along the line, you'll say that there's an error message that you are getting from somewhere. You are just seeing hash value, hash ref error, and all of those things. Now, how do you manage it, and how do you, play around all of those things? There are certain things that you don't have control over. All you can do is to find a way of managing them so that they will not impede or hinder whatever you want to do. Now, if, for example, this sales amount is meant to be a numeric value, or is mistakenly you are seeing something like X, and you want to carry out the calculation, of course, this will give us error. So how do you undo this kind of error message? Very simple. We add a clause to this calculation. If error, open a bracket, if error, actually we want to multiply B2 by B2. However, if error, just give me 0 so that I can do other calculations. So when you have 0 is a number, so it won't affect any other thing. But if error, just return 0. That's what we are saying. So then this error value will be gone. So you can see it. So that's the way you undo error values. Now, aside that, the if condition, we also have the if condition statement. It could be that for this shelf life that we just did now, this shelf life, let me label that. For this shelf life, now, in an ideal workspace, there are certain tolerance level. If the shelf life is at least 500 days, that could be the most acceptable kind of produce in the market. It penetrates the market very easily. So I cannot bring up a condition in this local. I want to know the quantity of products that are still in right condition, the perfect condition. So we can have a condition as such. If shelf life is greater than or equals to 500, then the sheet should return good condition or sound products. However, if the shelf life is greater than 350 but less than 500, less than or equals to 500, then you should return plan to sell. There will be a column for that. Then I'll put those conditions side by side like that. By the time I execute that query, each of the cells, each of the rows would have been
dealt with. Some will be good stock, or some will be planned to sell out. Then I have a column for all of those things. Then I can now begin to dig and dig. Okay, what's the quantity of products that are sound? What's the quantity of the ones that we need to sell out? We'll dive deeper into all of those things in the next class. But then just have an overview of what exactly we're talking about. And also, we'll also dive into this too. If I'm scrolling down, because you need to have a way of making life easy for yourself. If I'm scrolling down this sheet, you can see that everything is going down. There's a way I can also fix the header such that as I'm scrolling, the header will rename. The implication of that is that if there's an error somewhere, I want to trace the error. And I'm not really sure what column is this. But by fixing the header, I'll be seeing the header as I'm scrolling. So I can really see that, okay, the error is under so and so column, then I can do the needful. So that's just it. So in the next class, we're going to be diving deeper into the conditional statement, compound, and the way you loop them. If this one happens, then return this. Else, if this did not happen, but this one happens, return so and so things. So all of those things, they are part of those things that we'll be looking into. Then from there, we can now move to VLOOKUP, pivot table, and all of those things. And by default, those ones, they are even much more simpler compared to these if statements. For me, I think the manipulation and the bulk of the work lies around manipulating your way around the if, the conditional statement, and all of those things. Once you understand those things, their syntaxes, then I think you are good to go. So what else am I leaving out? Anything? So I think that's just right about it for today. The weekly project we have already in the classroom. So please do well to visit the classroom. Get those project materials and the course material. Look at all of those things and begin to query your data and get the insight that is required. As soon as you are done, you can turn it in right there in the classroom. So please, if there's any issue and you need it, do well to reach out, and we'll be there to attend to any of your concerns. And we are sure that no matter how, as long as you give in the best and you give in your time, definitely you will get the kind of support that is required. So please do reach out if there's any issue and you need help in any way. And I think that will be right about all for now, unless I'm missing out any other thing. Is there anything I'm missing out? Okay, so I'll be leaving the link in the description below, the link to the data set that we use, so that you can also lay your hand on it and practice some of those things that we've been able to do today. And in the next lesson, we dive deeper into a more interesting topic. We query further, and I believe it's going to be a very great experience for everyone. Thank you very much for having me, and it's a pleasure to have you around too. And I believe that it can only get better.